MLB wanted the show on Xbox. Sony had no input on decision. Agreed, more than likely. However, Sony had all the input in developing the game with its own studios. I really am now so interested and invested in this story that the Lego Horizon Adventure games are now going to be on the backseat, maybe closer to launch. Then, we'll start talking about that game again. By now, this is an article that was written about 3 years ago, if not longer than that, 3 point something years ago. By now, the news of MLB The Show 21 arriving on Xbox Gamepass when it launches this month has made waves across the web. Man, what was I doing in 2021? We were talking about the potential of what this Batman game will be that turned out to be Gotham Knights. I was playing and covering video games on my other channel, talking about mostly Tom Clancy's The Division, and I did see MLB The Show come to Xbox, but it was one of my really close friends that said he's a baseball player. He loves MLB The Show. In fact, I think he got a PlayStation to be able to play it, but then it came to Xbox and he was like, dude, after getting this PlayStation, this thing comes to Xbox, and he's more of an Xbox guy. And so I remember him mentioning something like that in passing. Being a previously exclusive series on PlayStation, the fact remains that this is a huge win for Microsoft, not so much for Sony. I don't know if I would have categorized it as that. You see, back then, I think a lot of people were going with this console warring thing. And so in their minds, they thought, oh, okay, maybe this is something where, Xbox gets to get a PlayStation game. But there is something, in my opinion, a lot deeper that I'm looking for here. Speaking on Xbox Wire, Jamie Lease, I think that's how you say the name, MLB Senior Vice President, Games and VR, confirmed that MLB The Show 2021 will arrive on Xbox Series X and Xbox One, as well as Android phones and tablets via Xbox Cloud Gaming for Ultimate members. For subscribers, you'll be able to play standard version of the game that comes with cross-platform play and progress too. According to PlayStation, though, this decision to make the series multi-platform wasn't up to them. As part of the goal for the game this year, MLB decided to bring the franchise to more players and baseball fans. A PlayStation representative told Inverse. I need to look at this Inverse article. This decision provides a unique opportunity to further establish MLB The Show as a premier brand for baseball video games. Seeing MLB The Show on 2021 on Game Pass is interesting, and for good reason. Now, instead of having to pony up 90 to 100 Canadian dollars to play the game, you can play at a low price to subscribe to Game Pass and play the game there with a huge catalog of games available for you. As for the game appearing on Nintendo Switch, there's been no word since confirming the series was on its way back to 2019. Yes, the game now has a Nintendo Switch port. Before I look at this Inverse article, let's go ahead and look at the sales price and the cost of these games right now. They are discounted, and sports games usually go down this route. However, the MLB The Show 24 game that came out in March this year is also heavily discounted as well. On the PlayStation Store, it's $40 for the game itself. When you go back to 23, it's $20. But here's the crazy thing. On Xbox, nonetheless, the game is $17 for the series version and is $15 for the Xbox One version. This is the latest game. Came out in March. We're in October, so it's about 7 months old, and the discount is super steep. Now, as a Game Pass subscriber, I do get it for this price. It's a little bit more discounted for me in this regard. My particular goal with this is not just to talk about the fact that it's a discounted game or whatever it is, but is money flowing from Game Pass to PlayStation Studios? Now, yes, I am also aware that the publisher for this game on the Xbox platform is not PlayStation. I think somewhere, somehow, they'd probably refuse to publish the game or be the publisher on the name of the game on the Xbox platform. If you notice, it's developed by San Diego Studio, but it's published by MLB. Perhaps maybe this is a cost thing. Maybe they paid for the port. Maybe they did all kinds of stuff with it, and PlayStation probably wants them to be able to hold that portion of the game. However, did they get a publishing part of the game where they said, well, if we're going to be the publisher, we're going to take it to Game Pass? And did PlayStation say, well, if our guys are going to develop it for you to get on Game Pass, we would love a cut from it. Or we would like, say, a profit share that makes sense since you're getting Game Pass money. And so if Game Pass money is flowing from this game into PlayStation's hand, then I don't want to hear anything about Game Pass cannibalizing sales, because obviously Game Pass is subsidizing this game to stay afloat from a financial perspective. It's just been, man, this is insane that I'm looking at this stuff. And I'm wondering, this is the third or fourth video that I'm making about this, and I've run down a rabbit hole where I'm just looking at everything that I can get my hands on. Where's that inverse article that I said I was going to look for? Yeah, will more PlayStation games come to Xbox Game Pass? Analysts weigh in on MLB deal. Now, the crazy thing, though, is I'm not saying that this is going to mean that, all PlayStation games are going to come to Xbox or whatever, but this actually sets or unveils what is actually beneath all of this stuff, which is software sales are very important. And the owner of the MLB license saw it as, this is important enough for us. And even PlayStation recognized that it was important enough for them. And maybe PlayStation has them basically stand in front of this stuff and did not back away from the deal. If PlayStation really did not need Xbox, they could have backed away from this whole MLB The Show and said no. But they've put in so much work into the brand, it just was not feasible for them to be able to back out or whatever it is. But it's still important that we know that they still agreed to this and went in knowing the terms to continue to develop the game as far back as 2021, and they have not stopped since then. They've continued to develop the game. That is insane, ladies and gentlemen. It's an unexpected move from Sony, because even though they may say they didn't have any hand to do with the decision, it is still their game. It is still their developed game. They could have said no. EA told FIFA, we're no longer going to use the FIFA name anymore. We're not doing this and paying you this money. So all of this talk that I'm probably going to hear, you got to understand, I played FIFA for years, Pro Evolution for years. The way the licensing agreements work, we've seen, different things change. Which has long kept its first-party IP exclusives to PlayStation consoles. So does this mean we could see more Sony-made games on Xbox hardware in the future? I don't know. The circumstances would be, have to be drastic or super extemporaneous, which this is one of those, but still, it did not preclude Sony. Like I've said, we spoke to two industry analysts and representatives from Sony and Microsoft to get a broader understanding of how this unprecedented deal happened and what it could mean for games in the months and years ahead. I mean, obviously, we know now that, PlayStation is not willing to publish a game on Xbox. In terms of the way they're positioning themselves, they're posturing. However, they've moved games. They're now moving to the Switch. Even after all this time, I think they were probably open to the idea and wanted to see how it would be. And it made sense if MLB came out and said, hey, man, this is us. That is very, very interesting. Ampere Analysis Research Director Piers Harden-Rolls considers this practical move on MLB's part. From MLB's point of view, this makes commercial sense as it opens up the content to a lot more players, especially in the US, but also keeps the established studio working on the game. Harden-Rolls explains, well, Sony decided to keep themselves in this deal. I'm sure MLB has been watching the in-game monetization of other sports game franchises such as Madden, and don't say FIFA anymore. EA dropped it. This is, this was 2021 article with interest and is thinking about audience reach rather than premium sales in this case. According to Ampere's comments, Xbox Game Pass now has over 18 million subscribers. As such, it makes a lot of sense for that sense that MLB will see it as an attractive opportunity. Oh, I believe it made sense for Sony too. I am not fooled to think that Sony did not even consider it, because there is nowhere where it says that Sony actually refused the deal. This person says this Gigiash Vilai, I think, or Vili, I don't know how you say this name, describes the move as a conscious decision from Microsoft to put the cat among the pigeons. This deal exposes just how great of a deal Xbox Game Pass is for multi-platform titles. $15 a month is cheaper in the short term than $70. In turn, Xbox is starting to become the must-have platform for this Sony title. When asked about this deal, an Xbox representative reiterated that we curate the library with the diversity of our 18 million members in mind, and that for day one titles, they look forward to bringing more new games to our members in the future, like Halo Infinite. Interesting that Game Pass used to have a much more positive outlook when it came to the gaming industry. Just a few short years ago, it wasn't until lately that they acquired, when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, that everything fell apart. Everybody all of a sudden found out that, or in their minds, that they hated game. This is on the other side of the aisle, by the way. This is on the PlayStation side. We've seen this. Not everybody. I'm just throwing that out there as kind of a, hyperbolic statement. But most people, Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Starfield's not going to sell. Game Pass is bad for the industry. Game Pass has not reached its metrics of 100 million subscribers. But back then, everybody was seeing how valuable it was. And obviously, this game was not selling. And that's just the painful truth. Because everybody was playing these games over here. So here we are. And this thing's right under our nose. Those titles that are not top tier in sales volume terms, that are based on new IP, that is, don't have an established audience, could be solid candidates for day one releases, he adds. Harding Rose points out that Game Pass's attractiveness to publishers relies on Microsoft's willingness to spend money necessary to close these deals. Harding Rose believes Microsoft paid a steep fee for the MLB The Show 2021 to sweeten the deal for MLB and Sony. Oh, so the analysts are even saying somewhere, somehow, Sony is holding a little bag in this whole conversation. So money is flowing from Game Pass into Sony's hands and has been flowing, if these analysts are right, for the past few years via MLB The Show. I'm going to throw this one in a cart. Interesting. From Microsoft's perspective, even paying a substantial sum to secure the game on release is worth it, he explains. Microsoft is not thinking about short-term profitability as it continues its aggressive content and subscriber acquisition path for Game Pass. Competitively, the optics of this move are strong, and it keeps Game Pass momentum building. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe what my eyes are seeing. It feels like I got teleported into a different universe. Ladies and gentlemen, this is quite interesting. MLB The Show 21 is a prime example of Microsoft's deep commitment to Game Pass. Even if it's the only Sony published game that ever ends up on the service. Of course, we're probably expecting that. According to analysts, this move doesn't mean fans should expect to see more Sony games come to Xbox consoles or Game Pass. We're not expecting it. This development is unlikely to have a tangible ramification for future Sony exclusives. This person asserts, I believe that this was a unique case where a games license holder forced Sony's hand. Sony was big. They could have said no. This is what I'm saying. They didn't seem to have forced their hands when they were saying that the money went in there, to sweeten the deal for them. I don't think they say force Sony's hands. Harding Rose comes to a similar conclusion, saying, I don't expect Sony to make a habit of it. No, still, the release is a groundbreaking moment as a Sony game comes to Xbox Game Pass for the first time. It is a unique situation, and it is one that, like I've said, at first I was thinking, maybe because of a unique situation, we probably don't need to chalk it up to that. But I take it back because I think, again, it should be known that there's a major reason this game moved to a different platform. There's money to be made. And MLB looked and saw that, why are we keeping this stuff exclusive and making PlayStation sell their own consoles when we could be making more money? So I think this is where the direction of everything is going. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.